Hey, welcome back. My guest in this segment is John Proctor. He's the president and CEO of Martello Technologies Group, trading on the TSX Venture under the symbol MTLO. John, welcome.
Pleasure to be here.
John, can we start with an overview? What exactly is the business of Martello Technologies?
So in a nutshell, what we do is make these big giant networks more efficient. So best example I can give, if you think about a building like this one, everybody's trying to stream these days. Everybody's trying to connect to the cloud services. They want to stream their CRM. They want to stream movies. And somewhere there's some kid playing video games across the same network. What we do is make that network efficient. And we just said, what is the business priority? So if you're a business and you're trying to do all these clever things, what is the most important things for you in the order of priority? So for instance, phone calls, voice over IP, then video conference, and then you might select the others, and all those come down. But at the same time, if you can make those more efficient, you don't actually need the same amount of bandwidth. So you're paying for less, effectively data pipe than you should do, but still getting the same level of service as if you were. And I think, again, as we see greater demand on that data bandwidth requirements, then we will always have work to do.
I think we might look into becoming a client, because we have, of course, we keep two networks going, and one of them, we have data flowing to the broadcast channel and from the internet back into the broadcast channel, and then everybody in these various offices is editing to servers and everything, and we're constantly having collisions and data failures in the critical environments. Like during a show, suddenly the NDIs aren't working, and that's the kind of thing you do.
That's exactly what we solve for multiple customers. And if I look at our customer base, and we've got thousands of customers in over 150 countries, and they range from giant government departments to manufacturers to financial institutions and everything in between. And the problem you've described, is exactly what we solve. So we are very much a market-driven organization. We didn't build tech and then try and find a market for it. We know what the market is, and we are solving those problems currently for thousands of customers.
Excellent. So a small enterprise like mine that probably does maybe $5 million a year, that's not too small.
Not at all. Oh. And I mean, again, there is competition. We know that at the giant enterprise level, who will take on a big financial institution like RBC or something like that, which we can also work with. But we're priced more competitively. So for a mid-tier enterprise like yourselves, we're a much better fit than some of our much bigger, much better known competition.
Well, this will be some of the best coverage I've ever done, actually becoming a client of the interviewing company.
What a fabulous way to make this work.
I know. Okay, so then who are your largest customers right now, or is that something you can disclose?
So without going into sort of names and sort of people we haven't got permission to talk about, think about global hotel chains, end to end across the world, and what they will do is exactly what I described. They'll put us inside their environment. They want to keep their front office from their back office separate, and when you go there, they want the customer experience to work. They want that when you're in your room and you want your Wi-Fi to work, you're on a business trip and you want to make voice calls on Skype or something like that. We make that experience work. The other thing we do, which is kind of one of the things as a techie I think is quite cool, is if some guy's digging the road outside and cuts the fiber, we fail over wireless. So this hotel will never go down. It will always have connectivity. And then there's other things, which is quite often hotels will have more than one internet service provider for that redundancy. And when it's working well, we can just balance and say this traffic needs to go this way and this traffic needs to go that way. Again, it's all about the customer experience and that hospitality. But the example you gave earlier about small enterprise, hospitality is relatively small margin. They want a box that they can ease fairly easily. There isn't a dedicated IT guy at the hotel. So the box has to just work and has to be the right price, and we fit all those conditions.
I am definitely going to examine it becoming a client. Okay, so you made a very interesting point in my exposure to other IT enterprise level sort of efficiency groups. I've constantly been faced with the reality as an investor that the margins are razor thin because the space is so competitive. And so how do you propose to offer investors a positive experience under those conditions?
Our margins are really, really good.
Oh, okay.
So we have a mixture of monthly recurring revenue and capital expenditures from our clients, and we balance that fairly well. It's about 60-40, and over the next few years you'll see that increase. We go more towards sort of 80% monthly recurring revenue. But we're also a mixture of software as a service and a little bit of hardware. So yes, there's hardware, there's capital expenditures to buy the hardware, but our software as a service, our margins are heading up towards 90%. So you think about that from a revenue perspective, and we're already hitting 90% margins. We're a very solid, steady business in that respect when we can achieve those margins at this stage of our public offering.
Is that because you specialize in these sort of sub-segments, the SD wave and the voice over internet protocol?
Yeah, so if you look at these networking areas, we're really focused on making sure they're efficient and they work. But we've been around for 9 years, and I do kind of joke we're a sort of a 9-year overnight success.
Right.
But what those 9 years have meant is that we've got all the building blocks built, right? The bases are all there. We're not a speculative company. I know that's a little bit different sometimes for people saying, well, you're going on the TSXV, you must be speculative. The answer is we're not. When you come with thousands of clients already and in 150 countries and running at over 90% margins,
right.
There's a very solid business base being built. But what we're seeing now, I mean, if I look at sort of where we're going, what going public means,
right.
is now we're going to run our build and buy strategy. Because a lot of small tech companies in Canada, they kind of hit a bit of a ceiling. There's a ceiling you can't get through, you kind of break even, you're doing well, but you can't get that big leap into the next level. We're using our go public to change that and let ourselves go bigger. So a build and buy strategy.
Right.
And the reason that's important is tech's moving so fast. With all our clients keep saying, hey, you solved this problem with your SD-WAN and your UC software, etc. Can you solve this one as well? And the answer is yes. Sometimes we'll take to build it, but other times it's, no, hold on, there's a small company over there that we want to buy because this customer has a problem, build them in, become accretive to us and solve a customer's problem much more quickly than if we tried to build it from scratch.
I see. Okay, then if in the context of being a 9-year company that's been private and now you're public, did you go public because your financials are in such great shape that it's time to shout it from the rooftops kind of thing?
There's a little bit of that. Our financials always were in good shape. Yes, we've invested quite a lot this year, non-recurring investment in going public, but it's also to break through that barrier. And again, you've looked at us. Our board is, people like Terry Matthews, Bruce Linton, Collie Clark, Mike McKishan. There's a really strong, active board.
Right.
So having their guidance to say, now is the time on your journey to do this is key. And you look at people like Bruce and Terry who've taken many companies public. We've got the right expertise on the board to help guide us and drive that perspective.
Sure. So in terms of the next 12, 24, 36 months, what is your financial projection?
So final projection is obviously we're going to grow. We've talked about acquisition. We are going to acquire. That will obviously start to create those bumps. We will see organic growth as well. And we forecast at least 10% organic growth, but then acquisition on top of that as well. So our finances are only going to go up. And we'll see the overheads this year greatly decrease. It's, going public even with an RTO is not necessarily the cheapest thing to do.
Right.
But we've done that investment, and
Right.
that's sort of done now. It's settled us and allows us to go forward.
Okay, so the company is a profitable enterprise at this point?
We're breaking even,
As a growing enterprise.
as a growing enterprise, notwithstanding the cost of going public.
Okay, that's great. So in terms of acquisitions, what is it that you're looking for? More companies like I saw that you had recently acquired. It had an interesting name.
Elfiq. We acquired Elfiq.
Okay.
So again, it gives you an interesting. So this year alone, we've integrated one acquisition. We've done a oversubscribed private placement, and we've gone public. For a fairly small company, those are 3 fairly significant things that get done in 1 year alone.
Sure.
For an acquisition process, what we're looking at is companies that are accretive, and I mean by that is truly the 1 + 1 = 3. It's great to buy buy another company and you stick alongside and you do great. But what I'm looking for is the piece in the middle where we can create something new that solves a client's problem together. That 3 point, because then it really is a valuable acquisition. And again, I'm not looking for the startup company. I'm looking for that company that's done well by itself, can't get through the barrier, and wants to come and work with us. And what's interesting, we're already having the phone calls. We're already having people calling us up saying, so, hey, I'm this kind of company, and we heard about you, and we think we'd be a good addition to what you're trying to achieve. So the word is out there.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, if I look at that and say, bringing these companies together has to be accretive to the whole. And I think, again, you look at sort of what shareholders are looking for. They're looking for that. Right. They're looking for that level of integration where the true value can be made out of the acquisition rather than just sort of plugs alongside and does its own thing.
Okay, John, that's a great introduction to the company. We'll leave it there and come back to you in a quarter's time. Thanks for joining me today.
Great. Thank you, James. Appreciate it.